It's Thursday, December 5th, 2024. One of the most consequential Supreme Court cases of our era gets underway. A major CEO gets capped in broad daylight on the streets of New York City. And Joy Reid of MSNBC justifies my vote for Donald Trump. Next on the AM Update. Tomorrow is another edition of Ask or Tell Me Anything on the AM Update. You can ask me any question you want. Tell me any news story you think needs covered that I didn't get to this week. Make your submissions at Real AM Update on X. That's at Real AM Update on X. Look for the pinned tweet. And now on with the Thursday edition. The U.S. versus Skrmetti got underway at the Supreme Court yesterday. That case stems from a Tennessee law that bans meatball surgery and chemical castrations in the name of gender for children. The ACLU, along with the Biden administration, sued Tennessee to block that law. The Supreme Court earlier this year took that case up and heard arguments yesterday. Some of the more galling statements that I've ever heard from any official within our government took place yesterday. We'll start with Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, who compared banning meatball surgery in the name of gender for children. Now, she compared that to banning interracial marriage.
Being drawn by the statute. That was sort of like the starting point. The question was whether it was discriminatory because it applied to both races and it wasn't, necessarily invidious or whatever. But, as I read the statute here, the case here, the court starts off by saying that Virginia is now one of 16 states which prohibit and punish marriages on the basis of racial classifications. And when you look at the structure of that law, it looks in terms of, you can't do something that is inconsistent with your own characteristics. It's sort of the same thing. So it's interesting to me that we now have this different argument, and I wonder whether Virginia could have gotten away with what they did here by just making a classification argument.
So Ketanji Brown Jackson, she is the Supreme Court justice during her confirmation hearings that couldn't define what a woman was because she's not a quote-unquote biologist. She seems to think that giving irreversible so-called sex change surgeries to children, that's just the same. Banning that is the same as banning interracial marriage. Not to be outdone, though, here is Justice Sonia Sotomayor responding to one of Tennessee's prosecutors on the case.
Cannot eliminate the risk of detransitioners. So it becomes a pure exercise of weighing benefits versus risk. And the question of how many minors have to have their bodies irreparably harmed for unproven benefits is one that is best left.
I'm sorry, Counselor. Every medical treatment has a risk. Even taking aspirin.
That is Justice Sonia Sotomayor saying that irreversible meatball surgery for minors in the name of gender, that's just the same thing as taking aspirin. Folks, that is 200 proof, straight, no chaser, unabashed evil. I hope the Supreme Court makes the right decision here and upholds Tennessee's ban on this heinous practice for children. Now, Axios yesterday reported that it's likely the Supreme Court will uphold Tennessee's ban. I'm not sure how Axios would know that. But then again, we did have the Dobbs decision leaked, and we never figured out who leaked that. The chief executive of United Healthcare, one of the nation's largest insurers, was shot and killed yesterday in Midtown Manhattan. Police described it as a targeted attack by a shooter outside a hotel where the company was holding a conference. The shooter fled on foot into an alleyway and was last seen riding an e-bike heading into Central Park in New York City. New York City police said the attack on Brian Thompson was planned, but the motive was not yet clear. Thompson was 50 years old, left behind a wife and 2 children. The Daily Mail reported yesterday that Thompson had been investigated for insider, at least accused of insider trading. Last year, the DOJ launched a probe into whether the private company of the nation's biggest insurer, led by Thompson, was unfairly restricting competitors and running a monopoly. In May, the City of Hollywood Firefighters Pension Fund initiated a complaint against Thompson and other executives, accusing the CEO of failing to tell investors about the federal probe before he unloaded over 31% of his stock, taking in $15.1 million in proceeds. In legal documents, the fund said Thompson and other company executives sold over $117 million worth of United Health common stock during the 4-month period when insiders knew about the federal antitrust investigation, but the public did not. I told you yesterday about Trump's pick to head the DEA. Chad Chronister, Hillsborough County, Florida sheriff, how he withdrew his name from consideration. Well, Donald Trump said on Truth Social yesterday, that's not the whole story, saying, quote, "The Wall Street Journal is becoming more and more obnoxious and unreadable. Today's main headline headline is Trump's DEA pick pulls out in latest setback with all that's happening in the world. This is their number one story of the day. Besides, he didn't pull out, Trump says of Chad Chronister. I pulled him out because I did not like what he said to my pastors and other supporters. But more importantly, what's my latest setback? I just won the presidency of the United States. He goes on to decry Wall Street Journal never writing a positive piece about him. So, man, I don't know in this case if you're really critical of Chad Chronister. And again, one of the most bizarre clips, as I said the other day, him telling that pastor, hey, I really appreciate the fact that you let me arrest you because I was enforcing a poopy law that I recognized that was really bad, and I did it anyway because that's just my job. One of the most bizarre clips ever. If you were one of the ones who was really critical about this pick, I don't know how much more you could ask for out of Trump. He basically said, nope, I fired him. I didn't like the way he talked to my pastors and supporters, and so that's why he pulled the plug. So good on Trump. As if I didn't need any more reasons to justify and be confident in my vote for Donald Trump this past November, Joy Reid on MSNBC provided me reasons in droves. Listen to this.
We are seeing a global trend of the far right surging. It isn't just happening here. But let's bring you back to the U.S. and to our local gangster, Donald Trump. He's not even president yet, and he's already spending his time sitting in his golden palace, Mar-a-Lago, muscling other countries like he's Tony Soprano with a social media site. Doing things like, reportedly, debating whether or not to invade Mexico, threatening BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, with 100% tariffs if they don't commit to trading in dollars and not their own currencies, demanding Hamas release all hostages being held in Gaza before his inauguration, or there will be, quote, all hell to pay in the Middle East, even reportedly threatening Canada. According to Fox, when Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau went to Mar-a-Lago this weekend to try to talk Trump out of his 25% tariff threat, Trump apparently suggested that if Canada can't handle the tariffs that would violate the NAFTA upgrade Trump himself signed into law, the USMCA, they should just become the 51st state. Just become this 51st state instead and allow Trudeau to be reduced to governor of the state of Canada, which caused the Prime Minister and others to laugh nervously. And while some are writing that off as just a joke, just a few hours ago, Trump posted this obviously AI photo of him standing on a mountaintop next to the Canadian flag, looking off into the distance with the caption, "Oh, Canada." And for the record, he appears to be looking at the Matterhorn, which is on the border between Switzerland and Italy, not Canada. Oh, and let's not forget, this is the same Donald Trump who at one point seriously wanted to buy the nation of Greenland, even possibly trade it for Puerto Rico. I wonder what this guy has against Puerto Rico. I'll just keep noodling on it. I'm sure I'll figure it out. Bottom line, this is how Trump operates on the world stage. He acts like he's everybody's boss, like he's the king of the world, which is bad news for basically everybody.
I didn't need any more reason to be pleased with my to be pleased with my about face and vote for Donald Trump. Sweetheart, Joy Reid, listen, this is called America First. Going in, this is how he acts on the world stage. He acts like he's everybody's boss. That's because that's what this country is supposed to be. We're supposed to be the world's leading superpower. Everybody is supposed to respect us. That's the way it's supposed to be. You're singing my love language. Oh, he threatened Justin Trudeau with making Canada the 51st state. You're damn right. Canada ain't got nothing on us. What, we're supposed to be intimidated by them? He starts talking tough with the Middle East with regards to hostages, the Hamas hostages. What, like that's a bad thing? I mean, leave it to the left over and over again in spades. Once again, confirming why so many people voted for this guy. And finally, we go back to where we started once more with the story about U.S. versus Skrmetti, the court case that challenges Tennessee's righteous law that bans meatball surgery and chemical castration in the name of gender for children. That law only came to pass after an investigation from the Daily Wire's Matt Walsh exposed Vanderbilt University Medical Center's just incredibly glib, callous, and cavalier attitudes towards permanent sex changes, so-called, for children. It was his expose that kicked off the chain of events that led to the law that banned the aforementioned practices. Matt Walsh spoke in front of the Supreme Court yesterday, flanked by dozens of supporters of the bill.
Now, third, finally, with all that said, I actually agree with the premise, sort of. This case is about the rights of children. It's about the right of a child to be protected from the gender butchers. That's what it's about. Children have the constitutional right, the human right, the God-given right to live and grow and learn about themselves and the world without being indoctrinated and exploited by people who reject the fundamental realities of existence. Children have a right to go through phases, to have moments of confusion and discomfort in their own bodies, just like every generation of children before them, without that confusion being seized upon as a pretense to do irreparable harm to their bodies. So to the trans activists over there claiming this is all about the rights of children, I say again, yes, you're right, it is. They have a right to be protected from you. Children have a right to be protected from all of those people over there who want to harm them and damage them and destroy them. And they will be. They are going to lose. They are losing right now. We are not going to let them harm our children. This case is just the beginning of the fight. It is not the end. We are not going to rest until every child is protected, until trans ideology is entirely erased from the earth.
Amen. That is Matt Walsh of the Daily Wire speaking at the Supreme Court yesterday as oral arguments took place in U.S. v. Skrmetti. Amen, and hats off to Matt Walsh, whose expose of Vanderbilt University's medical center's practices doing meatball surgery and sex changes, so-called sex changes on children. That's what kicked all of this off, and now we're coming up to a momentous Supreme Court decision on this. And should they rule the correct way, Everyone owes the Daily Wire and Matt Walsh a debt of gratitude. That's going to do it for today. Reminder, tomorrow is another edition of Ask or Tell Me Anything. You can tell me any story you want, ask me any question you want as well. Make your submissions at Real AM Update on X. That's at Real AM Update on X for Ask or Tell Me Anything. That's tomorrow. Hope you have a wonderful day. See you then.
I'm Ben McIntyre. This is the AM Update.